the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. The show that gives you the lowdown on how to become a successful real estate entrepreneur. With more than 30 years of experience, America's top female real estate investor Dwan is an expert in financial freedom and turning dreams into realities. Now's your chance to become a Dwandernaire with the help of Dwan. Here's to a flaming hot foreclosure market with the help of Dwan. Cheers.
Hey everybody, welcome to another exciting episode of Inside the Minds of Today's Millionaires. I am super excited about the guest that we have today. And I'm going to tell you a little story. So her name is Olivia. I'm going to introduce her just in a minute. We tried to do this podcast a couple weeks ago when I was in Florida, and I turned my air conditioner down so cold, it froze my entire AC. And I called her. I was like, girl, listen, I am dripping in sweat here. I cannot do this show today. And she was very gracious and agreed to do it a couple of weeks later. So I'm super excited that she's with us today. So I'm Dwan Twyford, America's most sought after real estate investor. And this is Everything Dwanderful. And our motto here at Dwanderful is people before profits. So that resonates with you. You're at the right place and this is your time. And I'd like to interview lots of people from all different walks of life in our session inside the Minds of Today's Millionaires, because I'm hoping that someone will say something or give you an idea, and that will be the little piece that you are missing to put you into the stratosphere. And so that's why I have such interesting and different guests, and some of them have nothing to do with real estate investing, because entrepreneurship is just overall a thing that we all want. So our guest today is Olivia Cook. Our podcast is called the Empowered Woman-Badass Unfiltered, and I love that. So Olivia, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you on. I've just been looking forward to this for weeks, and then when we couldn't do it in Florida, I was like, oh no.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be here.
I know we're gonna have a great talk today. So basically, what we do is we ask you to tell us who you are today and how to reach you and what you do, and then we sort of just kind of backtrack and just see where this entrepreneur mind, where it started, and how you got where you're at. And we just like to sort of have a fun journey and find out funny little unnecessary tips about you that make us all feel like we know you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So
let's have cheers. So cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers.
Cheers. And I'm just in a plain old water bottle. I need a cool water cup.
I got this because it keeps my water nice and cold, and it was like $10 from Amazon, and it has a straw, and it's 40 liters.
That's what I need to get. I bought a couple different things, but they don't keep my water cold enough. And I'm just like, I'm everybody now. I always have so much stuff. I drink so much. I don't know, but it's really good. It's good for your skin, it's good for your hair, and good for your nails. So, okay. So we want to know, what's your deal?
Okay. So I am a transformational success coach. I help badass women, badass spiritual women specifically, organize their lives and go through each and everything to allow them to achieve their goals and heal at the same time. I do this in 3-month and 6-month programs. And I also have the Empowered Woman-Badass Unfiltered podcast. And there I showcase badass women from all over the world, and just to provide encouragement, personal development tips, and inspiration to women to help uplift us all.
Yep. And how do we get a hold of you?
You get a hold of me. Okay. My Facebook is probably the best place to find me, honestly, is Facebook at Olivia Cook. I also have a Facebook group that I just launched called Up With Liv. It is accountability and motivation for badass women. And in this Facebook group, we do daily motivational posts, weekly check-ins, and monthly coaching calls via Zoom, which is not something that many Facebook groups actually provide.
No, they don't.
It's completely free.
I love that. So you like to go by Liv?
Yeah.
See, Liv suits you so much more. You look like a Liv. Like I'm just like, oh, Olivia's a beautiful name. I have a couple cousins actually. I'm like, you got that like power and that pink. You look like a Liv. Like Liv is like, yeah, I'm out there. I love it. Okay, well, I'm going to join your group because I want to be a part of all the exciting stuff.
Yes.
So let me ask you, how old are you now?
I am 29.
Okay, so you're still a youngster, so that's good. You've got a lot of great years. I tell you what, starting off at your age, doing what you're doing, you have decades of women that you'll be able to help.
And that's honestly what I'm looking forward to. I felt like this was a calling that I got from God a few years ago. And I've just been rolling with it ever since, going in the direction that he leads me. You know, I'm realizing there's no real path to life. It's your own journey. And just following your intuition and the guidance from God is really what's helped me thus far.
I know, I'm with you. I'm the same way. I pray about everything and just forever and ever, and I let God guide my path too. But there are so many people that just don't follow that God path yet. I'm like, oh, you'll have a come to Jesus moment in your life. you'll come over to the other side of the fence somewhere along the way. But sometimes people just need like that little thing to happen. So so give us like an example of what a transformational coach, like how would you help someone struggling with, I don't know, like like me, I was a single mom. Like how would you help a single mom that has no skills to come out of it on the other side? I know that's like a very vague question, but like just give us like an idea of what that looks like.
So the only difference between me, you, Oprah, Jeff Bezos, a bum on the street, I don't know, homeless person on the street, is how we spend our time. So I would first start out with analyzing how the time is spent and what they are feeding themselves, like the type of information, because what we encounter most are thoughts. So when you are watching trash TV like Jerry Springer, this was me, okay? I'm not judging anybody here.
Oh no, I did too.
When you're watching Jerry Springer and Maury all day, that's not really feeding you, and it's not really allowing you to grow. You're more attracted to drama and other things in your life. So I first start off with how they spend their time. I do a day in the life audit. Every 30 minutes, I need to find out what you're doing just to see how you're truly spending your time. And then I go through the wheel of success with them. Well, I start that off first, but we go through the wheel of success, and that's what and I figure out what they want in the next year, where they want to be in the wheel of success. So health and fitness, spirituality, personal development, finances. I don't know if I said personal. I did say personal development. Community, friendship, and there's two other ones that I can't think of right now. I always have my sheet up.
Oh, that's okay. I do the same thing. I've been doing my 5 equities of life for like 2 decades. And sometimes I'm like, I'll go do 3. I'm like, I don't even know what the
and everybody's not trying to work on all of those things at one time. So we really focus in on like the top 3 ones that the client is really focusing on. So for instance, let's say somebody wants to lose weight. They also want to just have better habits, like a morning routine, be a lot more calm, a lot less reactive, a lot and more proactive. Those are a lot of mindset things that aren't necessarily seen, in the beginning, but you feel it and you live your life completely differently. That, and I really go into the people they surround themselves with too. That's huge, So
gosh, people don't know how huge that is.
Yeah. Like if you're around the wrong people, you are the company you keep. Like, I didn't realize that. My mom always said that as a kid. And then I was like, oh, I'm really like, if I'm hanging out with a bunch of bitches in high school, I'm going to be one of them.
Yeah.
I'm going to be just a brat and mean. And, even if that's not really who I am, and not allowing and I also really focus on allowing, because I work with women predominantly, is allowing them to be their authentic selves and have confidence in doing that. So it's a lot. It's a lot.
And it's funny, growing up in high school, my dad used to always say, birds of a feather flock together. So we lived really in the country. So we only had, there was like 10 kids, in the whole, everybody had 10 or 12 acres. Like nobody was like right there. Like, we all had to ride bikes to meet. And so we only had like a limited amount of people to hang out with. And a lot of the kids were doing drugs and having sex and things like I was not quite there. And I remember one of my girlfriends got pregnant and I got grounded. Wow. Birds of a feather. If she's doing it, you're doing it. You're not going out of this house for a year. And I was grounded for like 6 months. It's like, hello. so people do associate. You are, even though you might not be exactly who you surround yourself with, but those people really are a giant reflection on what other people think about you and what you eventually end up thinking about yourself too. And it's hard for people when you say that. Like, I know it's hard for people to think like, oh, but these are my friends, these are my family, these are my people. But when you get new people, you have a better life.
Yes. When you have people that you can be yourself around, and when you know that you can go to a place and be with people that you're going to enjoy spending your time with. See, time is something that is so important to me, and how you spend it is very, very important to me. And that's something that I probably get on my friends' nerves with it, but I'm always like, okay, I'm very intentional with how I spend that and how my clients spend it as well, because that's our life. What we're living right now is all we have.
Yep.
The past is already gone. The future, we don't know if we get it. We're not that blessed. So we only have the current moment. And that's really what made me have such a big shift on how I manage my time and how
When did you start? Because you're 29. So I know at your age, I was a wreck. I was partying, drinking, cocaine. I mean, I was a crazy woman. So at what age did you adapt this mindset of like, hey, our time it really is our most valuable asset. The most valuable asset we have is our time. Because, when you're out of time, you're dead. So your time's out. So when did you start taking on a mindset like that?
I've always, not always, when I was 20, I'll just tell 2 different stories. When I was 20, I was in an abusive relationship, and I lived with this guy, and my father passed away from congestive heart failure. And
sorry, that's so young.
It's okay. I mean, it was his time. But I was absolutely, 20 was probably the hardest time of my life, because I was working 2 jobs. I had to pay for my father's funeral. I was, in this bad relationship. I was also, like, the 2 jobs were working 3rd shift at Waffle House. And
Danny's 3rd shift?
working
except I got fired, so
working at a restaurant called California Dreaming as well. And then I was also in school, and I wasn't paying enough attention. It was not a priority to me. My boyfriend at the time, he had a brother and sister that came and lived with us for a month, and they were 2 and 9, and so that right there was like, I don't want my life to be like this. And so I left right before I turned 21. And I thought that I needed to move states away. And then I realized that I just needed to move down the street, to a different part of town and really create the life that I wanted. And I realized then that I could do that. And then in October of 2018, I was really then started my personal development journey. Well, a few months before then, but Hurricane Michael hit Panama City, Florida, and we evacuated from that hurricane. We lost about 80% of our belongings, and we evacuated to Atlanta. But my husband, I have a great husband now, and he was in the military. He still is, and we were able to, like, our housing was paid for, our food was paid for daily. Like, it's not like we were, down and out, but I took that opportunity to make the best out of it. So we evacuated to Atlanta. I was able to put on a fundraiser for the people back in Panama City. 2 months later, we gave away $1,000 of,
how great is that?
Yeah, just supplies. We had news stations out there to help promote it and, just get the purpose out there. But so that was the second time that I realized, like, oh, you can create it. So then I recreated my life here, and I realized that I created something that I didn't want because I was focusing on the wrong things. I
Oh,
was, yeah, yeah. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go there and I'm gonna just work. And that's what I spent most of my time doing, working like
in
8 hours.
Atlanta.
No, so I was in Atlanta for like 3.5, 4 months. Then we got restationed to Scott Air Force Base, which is on the Illinois side of St. Louis. So yeah, when we closed on our house, it was in March. So I was technically homeless for 5 months, living in Airbnbs and hotels and stuff like that until we closed on our house. But it was a very eye-opening experience. I enjoyed so much of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was just creating, planning, all of that stuff. I did it, and I was like, oh crap. So when I volunteered in the Bahamas in 2020 to help with Hurricane Dorian relief efforts, I came back home and I realized I'm coming back home just to work. I'm coming home not because I'm enjoying the people I'm with, not because I'm having a great time or I'm even able to there's this girl that does dance fitness. Her name is Jessica, and I've been following her for years on YouTube. And she was coming to St. Louis that one weekend, and I couldn't even go because I had to work. And I'm
Uh,
like, this is not what I want. So I realized that, how we manage our time really dictates the lives that we live and allows us to live in more fulfillment and actually being present in the moment.
I gotta tell you, there are so many women that are in my age group, like the baby boomer women that we were raised, get married, have kids, work for the man, retire when you're 50, 60, and like that's what you should do. And I hear you talking, and I'm like, gosh, you need to like seek out the women that are my age that still don't know how to like be their own self because this model was drilled into our heads when we were young. And I find it amazing that I mean, not amazing. It's great that as young as you're so mature and you're so forward thinking. Like you're so forward thinking compared to, I was a train wreck at this age. I love that about you. I secretly stalk all your stuff on Facebook and I look at all your posts. I'm like, God, she has got her shit together. I
I
love
have
this
a fun
girl.
life now. Really
Well,
fun life now.
that's the thing, it takes us all sometimes a minute to get to where we're having, the good life. So when you were like 13, 14, like young, like where was your mind? Were you thinking about working? Were you just like being a kid? Were you already like on the debate team? Like what were you doing?
I was babysitting. I've been working for a long, long time. We didn't have a lot of money. My family was very educated. My mom got her double master's in African American Studies and Library Science, and my
Wow.
father actually got into Columbia University, and he for only $50 is all they had to pay.
Wow.
But he did not do well there. He dropped out. He went into the Marine Corps, did a tour, ended up just doing painting. But he was very educated. But he chose to live that party lifestyle, and that taught that. So that made it so I did not. I had to be on food stamps. We were homeless when I was like 12. We just temporarily, staying with friends, but
Yeah.
that's not, it's homeless. So it was a really hard time, I know, in my parents' lives. And I know that now my parents did the best that they could with what they had.
They do.
There's no tool guide to this thing,
Uh-uh.
like, yes, the Bible is there. And I was also born a Buddhist. So
Really?
yeah, I was born a Buddhist. My dad was an atheist. My grandparents were Jehovah's Witnesses.
No
I was
way.
exposed to church multiple times. I believe that Christianity is my path to God. I do not judge other people for having different religious views, but I just drip Jesus on people from time to time. But
Oh
yeah,
no, I do too. I'm always like, My parents are from a very, very, very small town, Tennessee. So my grandparents, everyone was like that, ass whooping, Southern Baptist. If you're gonna burn in hell, and like Bible thumping. So I was raised with all that. And when I got older, I was like, oof, I don't want to be one of those crazy people. So it took me a minute to loop back around to find Christianity in less of a Southern Baptist, I'm going to whip your ass kind of, God's going to smite you with a lightning bolt if you do anything wrong. So I was like afraid of God for a long time because it was like, ooh, and like I have like a respectful fear at this point, but I get that, there's not lightning bolts just whipping up out of the sky because you did something wrong. So going from Buddhist to Christianity, that must have been interesting. How did your family feel about that?
My mother is so like understanding. She's one of those people. She was just like, I just wanted, because she wanted to expose us to so many different things. She was originally born Catholic. She's just a very spiritual person now. She's no longer like practicing Buddhist, but we were Buddhist for like when I was born to around the age of like 13.
Oh.
And then I went to church with friends and stuff, but I didn't get baptized until October of 2019.
Wow. So you're like baby new Christian. Oh, I love that. I looped back around and got back in church at around 32. So now at this point, I'm 30 years in. I'm just like, gosh, God has changed my life and done so many good things to me. I don't know how I would have handled if he hadn't stopped in somewhere and said, listen, you need to stop that. This is what you need to do. Is your so I don't know, I don't want to be too personal. Is your dad still an atheist?
No, he passed away when I was 20, but yeah, he was very, and it wasn't, he thought that religion would be good for me. That's what he said. He was, so.
Well, yeah, I know that is, well, hopefully I always feel, and I don't know, I mean, I don't know, the Bible doesn't say this specifically, but I always feel like even for people that say they don't believe, or maybe they're Muslims or they're atheists or there's something else, I always would like to think that in those final moments before that person passes, there's like a little conversation, like where in their heart, they're like, yeah, okay, I see you there, Jesus, and I'm gonna accept that, and they make their way on up to heaven. So I don't know. I know a lot of people that have passed that, that, and I'm like, I always just like to think that there's a moment that we as humans wouldn't understand where we get like a last redeeming moment. So I hope that was the case for your father for sure. So now you're like, so that's what you're babysitting. I mean, I was same thing. And then when you're like 2025, so now that's usually my next question, but you were already in like that bad relationship and you started working and working and working. So the goal that you have now is to work. So you want to work with all women, all nationalities, all kinds of crazy things happening in their lives and try to help them focus on themselves and find out who they are and what they really want to be.
Yes. I predominantly focus on women that are a little more high achieving women.
Oh yeah.
Because the goal driven women, those are usually my type of people just because of my personality type. I'm very much like in your face, like your coach, but like not like Eric Thomas or, he's like loud and aggressive. I'm like the feminine Eric mixed with Mel Robbins, mixed with like Tony Robbins kind of, and some Eckhart Tolle too in there.
Yeah. I love all that. I love all that. We need more women that are truly like motivational speakers and motivational helpers and teachers. Because I still feel, I mean, I'm older than you, so maybe it's a little bit different for your age, but I still feel like for me, I'm still in a business that's very much a man's business. Mm-hmm. And there are not a lot of really super successful female real estate investors. It is still a male dominated world. And so I feel like a lot of women at any age still feel like they kind of need to fit in some sort of society box that they should be in. And it's like, well, you can be the Tony Robbins for all the women. Because you understand and like you get the thing like that. So being a little bit younger then, do you feel like it's like in your world, do you feel like it's still more male dominated? Or maybe that's just because I'm just older and that's the kind of people I work with.
I think that there's different versions of reality. I'll say that. I think that, for instance, and it's very industry specific. I talked to one lady that's in real estate, and she was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, well, there's so many female real estate, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, I don't think people realize that what they see is not necessarily what the reality is, what the
Yeah.
real numbers and statistics are.
Oh yeah.
Uh, for instance, my day job is in the rail industry, which is very male dominated.
The rail industry?
Yeah, railroad parts. Yes,
Really?
completely different. Yeah. So it we own 86% of the market globally, the company that I work for. And it's literally we make the world go round because it's rail cars. Like we build the parts for the rails. So it's
Yeah.
business to business sales. And in business to business sales, all of our sales people are men.
Oh
All of
yeah.
them. There's like one female engineer that I know of.
Mhm.
And this is a huge company. So I do believe that it's still very male dominated. When it comes for me for looking for motivation from women, it's very hard to find women that are even similar to me. I feel like a lot of women act like they're perfect. I read a book recently, Believe It, by Jamie Kern Lima. She sold
Mhm.
her, I found her off of Ed Milet's podcast, and she sold her business, It Cosmetics, for $1.2 billion to
Wow.
L'Oreal.
Wow.
In her book, I mean, I laughed, I
What?
cried.
Tell me what her book is called.
It's called Believe It.
I'm gonna read it.
And it's a spiritual book. I mean, because she really does talk about how good, how good God has been to her. And she also worked at Denny's. You would really like this
And the
book.
Waffle House. See, we all were there. We were all
And
there.
she was adopted. I mean, she shares so much about finding her birth mother and like just so many different things. And I was just like, wow, like to find that authenticity
Yeah.
in people is very hard to find. You don't even get access to a lot of the people that you really want to emulate. Now we can. And so I'm thankful for the internet for that purpose
Yeah,
that
me
I
too.
get the access to speak to such amazing women. For instance, you yourself. I've learned so much from interacting with women like you and women that I've, done my podcast with. Like that's where I get so much of my
Mhm.
inspiration and motivation from is
Mhm.
from the actual people I have the conversations with.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah,
can't,
I
I,
do
it's
too.
hard to find it online.
Yeah, no, I do too. I do too. And there are so many. That's one thing I'm really proud about for my business. I have so many female students, and so many of them are like, "Oh, my husband doesn't want me. He wants me to stay home, have the kids, doesn't want me to work, have my own money, have a career." Like, and they have to like fight to like, hey, I'm gonna go make money, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna, I want my own thing. And so I have just thousands and thousands and thousands of female students, and I'm really proud about that because I'm like, hey, listen, a man is not a plan. So just start with that. Like a man is not a plan. So, be independent. You certainly can have relationships, husbands, you're married, I'm married, and we all have all that stuff like that too. But I just think women need to get out of the mindset that their man is like their backup option. Because I mean, I was married twice before. Also, one of them was really abusive, and I actually whipped his ass with a baseball bat. I was like, I am not tolerating this. I put that man in the hospital, and I was like, well, okay, we're getting divorced now, so because I was so freaked out that this was happening to me, and
Yeah.
I
I
worked very
definitely
hard on
told my
emotions
ex a
at that
few
time.
times.
I was highly emotional, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna teach him a lesson. So I don't recommend that to anybody else. You could certainly end up in jail for that. He did not press charges or call the cops on me.
Oh, thank God.
It was a long time ago. I was in my 20s. So I did a lot of stupid stuff in my 20s. So I love the fact of trying to work with women and help women financially and just have more independence in the world. But and when I go to like some of these all day weekend, 3-day real estate workshops, many times, even still today, I'm one of maybe two women speakers with like 15 men. It's like, come on, girls, like get up, get some programs, like let's go, rise up, let's teach everyone how to, be successful in what they're doing. So I appreciate the what you do because you're starting young and you have decades ahead of you, and you're going to be able to just change millions of lives.
Thank you. Well, see, I think another issue with women is that a lot of women don't lose the high school mentality.
They
A lot
don't.
of women maintain the catty, childish behavior throughout the rest of their lives. And they feel like if someone else wins, they can't. And I think that's something that's a lot more common amongst women than amongst the men that I have encountered when it comes to actually allowing ourselves to rise up and be up. Because there are women like us that empower other women, but then there are women that will, knock another woman down.
Oh yeah. My husband, my husband is like the perfect example. He's that guy. Everybody loves him. We just had a high school reunion. It was his 45th, and it was, oh my God, Bill Twyler. Like everybody loved this man. And and I go to mine, and they're still like the cheerleaders are here and the girls are there, and it's like, oh my God, you guys, like really, we're on our 60s. Is this really still how you are? So I feel like one of the biggest problems is that deep down, most women are not happy for other women who become successful, and they may not admit it, but they show it by their actions. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, if everyone understood that if all the women were successful, we could create so many more great things. But I feel like people still look at another successful woman as competition. Like there's a few women in my arena that are major trainers, and they've got so many students, and they have all this, giant and just offices with hundreds of people and just crazy. And I never look at that and go like, wow, I wish I had that. I'm like, oh, I'm so happy that you have that. Good for you. Keep doing that. So I think one of the things is that women have to really truly start to be happy for other successful women and not keep that cattiness that people say, oh, deep down all the women are really catty, but sadly deep down a lot of women are. A lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to ever break that cycle. It's like they're stuck in high school. I go back to my high school in West Mountain, Ohio, and I feel like an alien. I look at these people and I'm like, how on earth did I grow up with all of you? I got like this crazy pink hair and I have this crazy successful business. And I tell my husband every time I go, I'm like, I feel like an alien when I come here. I cannot relate to the people that stayed and still hang out with their cliques when they were 15 years old. It's like, oh my God,
I feel
how are you still doing that?
right. My high school reunion is supposed to be coming like the 10-year, right?
Yeah.
And my first, like when someone first reached out to me, I told someone at my other job, I was like, why would I spend money to spend time with people that don't add value to my life? Because that's really, and I went to a good high school. It's not that I don't like those people. There's plenty of people that I do like. We communicate on Facebook.
Yeah,
I don't need to spend money to be in a room with people that don't add benefits to my life. You know what I mean?
edify you. Yeah, they don't edify you. I went to my last one. It was our 40th. And I was like, and you have a handful of girls that you were just like, you're so happy to see each other. And those are people that are, happy for me. I'm happy for them. But I started seeing like the people at tables. I thought, oh my gosh, this is the same. This is the lunchroom, except we're 60. I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to go back to any more of those because it's fun to reminisce for a minute, but I'd rather just stay in touch with people I like on Facebook and just, be done with the rest. But yeah, we have to figure out a way to get all the women of the world to truly support each other. It would be such a nicer place if everyone was really in their heart happy for other people. And that's not easy because I used to be that person like, oh, well, I don't know why that person got that speaking event. I'm better than they are. And God worked on me over a long period of time to be happy and pray for other people and be happy for their success and really, truly mean it. And I mean, that took me like a decade. That was not like a 5-minute lesson. That was like a decade before I saw someone I knew got a TV show. And my first thought was like, wow, I'm actually happy and not thinking, why is that not me? I'm just as good. I was like, okay, thank you, Lord. I got the lesson, but it was like a decade. It was like a long thing for me to work on, to be super happy for other people that had, successes that I thought, well, I'm just so smart. Why do I not have that? And so it took me a long time. So I'm happy that I learned that, but I would like to have learned that maybe in my 30s.
I saw this quote like a few months back, and it was, um, you'll never have what you hate to see other people with.
Oh, that's really good.
And when I saw that, at first my thought was jealousy, you know, like people just automatically like, oh, I hate that she, or like, like,
No,
God, why does she
I
have
get it.
that?
I was that way for a long time. Took me till I was in my 50s to be happy for other people in my arena that had surpassed or had something that I wish I wanted or I was working for. And then God's like, listen, that's not for you. This is for you. So be happy for people. Pray for your enemies. If someone wrongs you, pray for them. And I remember praying for some people like, all right, like with that attitude, like, I'll just pray for them. And then I just remember like God being like, really? Like that's how you that's not how it works. Like pray for them really and be happy for them really. And then you'll find out that one day you'll just be happy with your own stuff and you won't care and you'll be happy for everybody else. So that was like a decade lesson for me, for real.
Speaking of God and praying for people and praying for your enemies, when I saw these two people, I was leaving the gym and they were in their car, clearly coked out, methed out. They were on meth. Like they were in some Xannies. I don't do those drugs, but I'm really like obsessed with like what those drugs do to people.
Oh yeah.
And I know a lot of people would either choose to record them on video and put them on their Snapchat or their Facebook or their Instagram story. Other people would just curse them and be like, they should get off the road. They would call the cops, some
Yeah.
people. But me, I looked at them and I felt so bad for them because I knew that they were truly hurting.
Yeah.
And all I did was pray.
Yeah.
I knew God was
That's
working on me.
I know, and that makes you feel good too. Like you're like, oh, thank you, Lord, for letting me pray for that person, like with true sincerity.
Yeah.
Sincerity.
Because drugs do horrible things. Addiction is a thief. And it's taking, in 2017, 19.3 million of people were battling with drug addiction. That was in 2017. And after COVID and everything, like it's so much worse now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially like, schools weren't open, but you can go and get alcohol and weed in Illinois.
Oh yeah, Colorado too. Every corner in Colorado's got a dispensary on it. Yeah, I remember watching TikTok videos in the beginning of lockdown and people were all drinking and partying, and I was like, you know what? I didn't do that. I didn't have any alcohol. I put a lot of my programs, updated a lot of things, and made things more available online. And my husband and I never were like, oh my God, let's just binge like all the shows and drink and like not even for a minute. I didn't do any of that stuff. And I thought, well, okay, people, listen, seriously, take the time to like grow yourself. But I know so many people like they put on 30, 40, 50 pounds, they drank and partied, and now they're like trying to undo all that. And it's like, I don't know. I'm happy I didn't go. Now, if I was younger in my 20s, I could very well have gone down that path. But at my age, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be stupid. I've already been stupid. I'm going to grow myself during this time. And so my husband and I spent a lot of time reading the Bible and just taking a minute because it was quiet. And we were in Florida when it happened. So we stayed at our house the whole time just by ourselves. And it was just like this whole new like dating again. It was really, I tell people, like, I know people died. I know it was awful, but I really enjoyed that time. I used my time wisely.
That it really sounds like it. And this, for some people, COVID was the hardest thing that happened in their lives. And they didn't know how, and a lot of people don't have proper coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
For a long time, I mean, my heaviest, I was 220 pounds. My coping mechanism when I got depressed was to drink a bunch of alcohol. And I gained I gained 40 pounds in the first 2 months of my marriage because I was so depressed because I moved away from
Aw.
everything that I knew, and I didn't have a job. I was freaking out. My husband was great. He was super loving and amazing. It was a me problem, you know? And that was my coping mechanism. And a lot of people have that as their coping, and it's really,
Yeah.
it's not a healthy coping mechanism, but they have to figure that out for themselves.
They do.
And I mean, I feel like we've probably already gone through harder things than COVID. So we knew how to adapt, shift, and change.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't have that. And I feel like the biggest skill that people really need to build is how they attack adversity.
Agreed. So a lot of people, when they have a lot of adversity in front of them, they don't come out on the other side as a better person. And the whole thing is like, no matter what life throws at you, as you're going through that journey, ideally you should want to be better on the other side of it. I mean, I don't know. I bought a paddleboard, and because our house is on the lake, so I learned how to paddleboard, and we rode our bikes, and we had so much fun. We watched movies, and we had so much fun. So, and I get it. And we both got COVID, so we both got sick. So we were sick too, and it was like that was no joke. Like that, you're no joke sick with that. But I don't know. I told all my kids, like, listen, use this time. Do not just sit around and drink and party. You got all this downtime. Whatever you're working on, grow it and work on it while you have time. Because, life gets busy, and the next thing you know, you don't have that time again. And for the people, I think, that took that window and did productive things with it, I think they were okay.
Oh yeah. I wish I could have taken that window. I was still working the whole time.
Yeah.
I worked the whole time. Like,
well, I was on Zoom working, but I couldn't do any live seminars, but I was doing seminars like daily on Zoom. I worked my butt off.
Isn't that exhausting to literally be in front of a screen for so long, sitting and not moving your body, not being outside, outdoors like that?
Yeah.
That was the hard part.
I know. So let me ask you a couple of random questions. Tell me, what's your favorite food?
Oh, wow. Okay, favorite food right now in the moment for breakfast, because I like all types of food. But for breakfast, my go-to is vanilla Greek yogurt with oatmeal, like an oatmeal packet, like the cinnamon one, and then putting a banana in there. That is a perfect, like, nice protein-packed breakfast that is nice and sweet and not too sweet. That's one of my favorites. But I mean, I love a good steak. I love like a Wagyu steak if I'm gonna have steak. Filet.
I love steak.
Yeah, filet
I
only.
need a build porterhouse. I can eat the whole thing. I don't care how big it is. I'll eat it.
I'm a ribeye girl too. So I love mac and cheese.
Oh.
Yeah, so I like different types of food. I don't discriminate when it comes to food. I like it all.
I do too. I like it all. One thing I like about having grandkids, they all like mac and cheese. Because I don't know, it's not something, as I was older, it's like gluten issues and stuff. When my grandkids come up, I'm like, oh my God, we're going to eat mac and cheese for like 3 days. I'm so excited. What's your favorite band? Like, do you have a favorite like band of all time?
One of my favorite bands is The Fray.
Ooh, I like The Fray.
Yeah, they're like, The Fray has gotten me through some things, like in high school, because that's when they were like middle school, high school is when they came out. I really like them.
I like that too. I know everyone has like, music. I'm one of these people that music is so important to me because every song that I know, there's a place or a minute where that song, I can put it to a place where I remember the song, even my husband and I the other day just spent a couple hours going through the top 100 lists all the way back to like the 60s. And I'm like, oh, I remember dancing in the living room with my mom on this song. I remember this, and then the 70s. And I was like, oh, this is the song I was like, I lost my virginity to. And, and we started going through like decades of music. And I was like, wow, it's really amazing for me how much music plays a part in all the chapters of your life. And it gets you through, for me, it gets me through a lot of hard stuff.
Oh yeah.
I turn to music too. And a lot of people are like, oh, I just like everything. And it's like, wow, okay, because you can tell the people that have related the music to getting through times in their lives. And then when you hear the song later, you're like, oh, that song was really great for that moment. But now I'm on. So where's your favorite place? Do you have like a favorite place, like in the world, anywhere that's like when you're there, everything is right with the world?
When I am out in nature, honestly, like on my walks and my hikes, that's something that I implement daily in my life is just getting outdoors. I don't know if you know this, but and I hate that they don't give this information out while COVID was going on, but everyone requires a certain amount of vitamin D. Black people usually need about 5 hours of daylight to be vitamin D sufficient, like to have the right total numbers. Well, I get a horrible seasonal effectiveness disorder if I don't have that. So I would have to tell myself, because I would go hiking in the snow. I went hiking in the snow. Who am I? Like, what? But I had to tell myself that my mental health is so much more important than the weather.
Yeah.
So it's honestly just being out. Like, I can be at the beach, I can be in the mountains, I can be, in Arizona. I loved Scottsdale, just hiking, just feeling
I love
the
Arizona
energy
too.
of the earth. Like, that's my happy place.
I love it. Yeah, I'm so blessed that we have a house in Florida by the beach and up in the mountains, because either one, when you're outside, it's just like, oh, this is amazing. So I feel super lucky that we have that. So let me just see. So we're just gonna like do a little summary. I took a lot of notes and see if we learned anything about inside the mind of Liv Cook. So you have a podcast, The Empowered Woman-Badass Unfiltered, which I think of all the podcasts, that's my favorite title of all of them. I was like, that's right. She took badass right in her title. I love that. And you have a Facebook thing, Level Up with Liv. You're 29. When you were young, you were in your teens, you were babysitting, on food stamps, homeless a little bit, and just went through some things. And also worked at the Waffle House. So, and early married to an abusive person. And then 2018, you really started your journey in St. Louis, married to a military guy. So yay, thank him for his service. And became from Buddhist over to Christianity, which I love that too. And I really, really like when you were talking about how to spend our time. I like the idea of 30-minute increments. I'm going to do that for a week or two, because as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, you know what? That's for me. So that's the thing, because I very easily will start watching a Hallmark movie, and next thing you know, it's like 3 hours went by, and I was like, oh, I was doing something else over there. So as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, that's my message today. I'm going to do some 30-minute increments for a few days, and see where I'm letting that time. You like yummy yogurt, oatmeal, steak. We like the fray, and we love nature. Is that a little sliver of who
That is
Cook
a good little sliver of me. Yeah. Yeah.
See, you have such a great mind, and you're just such a beautiful person.
Thank you so much.
So beautiful. And you have a great mind. I love everything about you. So at the end of all the shows, we do, I assign an equity of life. And so my regular listeners know the 5 equities of life. I kind of look at it like a pie. You have a pie and you slice it up. See? There we go. That was our 45 minutes. And if you slice it up, we're sort of the sum of these things. So I do financial, spiritual, physical, mental, and family. And I feel like inside there, sort of everything falls under a category. Mm-hmm. And I'm really big on helping people to lead more balanced lives, because I've spent decades, not like a year or two, decades, completely out of balance. And now that I appreciate what the balance does for you, it's like, oh man, I wish I would have done this honestly when I was 30. I just started back then, but I didn't. But that's okay, because I did now. So I always like to have our guests give us a life equity and tell us the equity and give us the assignment. And all the regular listeners know that we ask them to do it for 1 week. If it adds value, keep it and go, hey, Liv gave me this idea, I'm keeping. And if it doesn't, at least they did something for a week that is out of their regular wheelhouse of things. So what is our life equity and what is our assignment?
The life equity is spiritual, and the assignment is something that I call middays with Jesus. And that is intentionally being in the presence of God, whether that be praise and worship, whether that be reading a devotional, but that reset 15 minutes with Jesus in the middle of your day to help reset your day.
I love that. A midday kind of reset, 15 minutes with Jesus. That is awesome. I'm definitely going to do that.
That has saved me so much. Like, because I start my mornings with God,
Yeah.
Praying and stuff, but that midday really helps me not lose my crap on these people in email hell,
I got you, girl. I know exactly what you mean. Oh my gosh. That's I'm going to do that one too. I love that. And I really love that little 30-minute increment because I immediately was like, I need to do that. So I love all of it. I just love you. I think you're a wonderful person. So just tell everyone once again the name of your show and how they can reach you.
My podcast is the Empowered Woman-Badass Unfiltered, and you can find me on Facebook. And if you're interested, you're more than welcome to join Level Up with Liv Facebook community for badass spiritual women.
I love it, and I like the fact that it's spiritual based.
Yeah.
I mean, people need Jesus in their life. A lot of them don't know it yet, but they really do. They do. They really do. Okay. So thank you for being on the show today. I love your heart. I love your spirit. And everyone, Liv and I both do these podcasts, and they are labors of love. It costs us time and money, and we invest a lot of our own heart and soul into helping you and working with you and helping you have a better life. So I'm going to ask everyone, if you loved anything from today, I want you to give me a 5-star review and write something amazing. I want you to start following the Empowered Woman, Badass and Unfiltered. And I want you to also leave Liv 5 stars and write something about how great her show is as well, because that helps us grow our audience and be able to reach more people. And we cannot do that without you. So I'm going to ask you to all to do that. And, I'm hoping a lot of people will come over and go, oh, I love her too. And it'll help your following as well, because you and I truly are happy for each other.
Yes. And I mean, you inspire me and empower me so much. I mean, I love, guys, I added her on Snapchat. I don't do that with people.
I put out a crazy Snapchat yesterday on my story, and I was like, oh, my husband's going to kill me. Oh, it's so funny. Oh, so when he's not around, I do all kinds of Snapchats about that man. It's like he's a mess. So you guys can hit me up at Dwanderful.com. I've got a couple free ebooks to help you get started on your real estate investing career. And I'd like to ask you, do you have like a final parting word of wisdom?
Be yourself, because it's exhausting to be anybody else.
Amen. It is exhausting. And plus, you really need to love yourself, because everywhere you go, there you are.
Mm-hmm. So, you'll attract the proper people in your life when you're just yourself.
Yep, I love it. Be yourself. Okay, guys, remember, we're here next week, same bat time, same bat channel. And the truth is in the red letters. All right, everybody. Ciao. And Miss Liv, thank you. And I will be talking to you very soon.
Thank you for dropping by to the most wonderful real estate podcast ever, making real estate investment Dwanderful each and every time. And for more information on how to make your real estate dreams a reality, keep an eye on Dwanderful.com and be sure to become a member.